Hello everybody. Today we're going to be going over my flight scenario project. My name is Eric Freeland. I'm attending Liberty University. This is the fall aid term of 2021 and this will be for the Aviation 327 class. So the scenario that we were given was to plan at least a 250 nautical mile trip from our home airport utilizing the fullest amount of fuel possible based off our total weight. And we will be departing 1 hour before sunset. So when you keep that in mind, when it comes to making sure that we're good to carry passengers at night and how we need to do that. But we'll get into all that stuff later once we go through the entire scenario. We are a newly minted commercial pilot. It's a Thursday morning and the owner of the company approaches you and offers to pay you to fly her husband, and her daughter to a golf tournament. They will be carrying luggage weighing 50 pounds and golf clubs weighing at 75 pounds total, so keep all that weight in mind. As we look to us as the pilot, we have 275 total hours of flight time. We do have an IFR rating. We have 10 hours of instrument condition flying, and we're working towards our CFI. One thing to keep in mind is our last flight with passengers was 95 days ago, but we are IFR current still. So looking at the aircraft, we have a total of 175 hours in this aircraft. It's fully IFR certified. It does not have any oxygen or anti-de-icing equipment. We will be in a Cessna 172S model with a G1000 in it. So it should be good to fly through IFR and all those conditions with everything it offers. So now we're going to look at the weather that they gave us and the weather that we have. The weather conditions for the flight are going to be VFR for the first 100 miles and then slowly turning IFR by the time that you arrive at your destination. Utilize the current METARs and all that stuff for the flight planning that we have. The METAR, our destination airport, will be winds at 360 at 8 knots, 2 statute miles of visibility, overcast at 800 feet. Temperature is going to be 7 degrees Celsius, dew point 6 degrees Celsius, and altimeter is 29.68. One thing to keep in mind is that we were told that there is an airport with VFR conditions about 30 to 35 miles from our destination airport, so that'll be good to use as an alternate airport when we file our flight. Home airport, we'll be leaving out of KRYY. Winds are 090 at 5 knots, 10 statute miles of visibility, light rain, scattered at 4,500, overcast at 11,000. Temperature is 20, dew point's 19 degrees Celsius, and altimeter is 30.03. So this will be a big one. This will be going over all the external pressures we have. Your boss is looking to possibly hire you to fly her corporate pilots. This is an opportunity to demonstrate your ability to make decisions. It's also an important golf tournament, and the corporate airplane is in for an annual inspection and not available. Also, about 40 minutes into the flight, her daughter begins to feel airsick, and the conditions are a light turbulence. So we'll look into how all this goes into play in a little bit. So being as it starts to turn IFR, we will need to do an IFR route. From here, we're going to be leaving out of KRYY and flying waypoints and VORs pretty much all the way there. This was the route that was recommended to me while I was doing my flight planning that ATC has issued to others who have made this route before. So being it's a preferred route, we went with this route. And then one thing to keep in mind also on that last slide, the landing destination airport is going to be Pensacola, Florida. The weight and balance is right here. You see that we have 4 people with an average weight of 143 pounds for a total weight of 572 pounds with 75 pounds of cargo. So if we look at the max fuel that we can carry with our weight, is going to be just about 42 gallons of fuel, which will be more than plenty. We should have about 13 gallons left over. And then it kind of breaks down the weight that we'll have before fuel. And then we're going to be adding about 248 pounds of fuel, which is just over 41 gallons total of weight. And we'll be landing uh, with a total weight of 2,421 pounds. In this slide here, we're kind of go over the flight log that we've got. The total time that we're going to be in the air is going to be around 2 hours and 39 minutes to get from our to get to our destination airport. So we kind of break it all down here, what the winds are going to look like, you know, what heading we need to go to, and how long we can expect each point, as well as our fuel burn on it. We should be burning around 8.1 gallons per hour based off of the RPM setting that we have and the winds aloft that we have on the flight. And then it kind of breaks down kind of what fuel we're going to burn and how we're going to burn it, with 6 gallons left over as the reserve on top of the 13 that we just have extra. So we should hopefully be landing, if we don't need to go to our alternate airport, with about 19 gallons of fuel left in the tank, which would be plenty to get us, you know, anywhere else that we need to get to. And if something were to happen and the clouds were to drop and we can't reach minimums at our destination airport in Pensacola. So now comes the big question: is can we make this flight? Well, we need to make sure that we're current on carrying our passengers. So what does this mean? This means that basically we need to make sure that, you know, we remember that our last time carrying passengers was 95 days ago. Okay, so does that mean that they've flown since then? Have they done their landings to make sure that they're current to carry passengers still? You know, in order to do that, you need to make sure that you've got 3 takeoff and landings in the daytime if it's a daytime flight, and then those can be touch and goes or full stops, whatever you want to do. But this flight's going to be mostly a nighttime flight, so it's going to have to be 3 takeoff and landings within the past 90 days to a full stop, and then taxi back and retake off. They got to do 3 of those. I just put in here the alternate airport that we're going to use for this flight, just for our purposes, would have been Mobile. It's a Class C airport, so they've got plenty of equipment there, multiple runways to make sure that, depending on the winds, you know, we can pick out which one's most favorable to us. And if something were to happen and we were to be out of gas, that, you know, there would be a lot of stuff that they have there on site that'll, you know, could assist us and stuff like that. The big question for the pilot is, do we feel comfortable flying in the weather and in instrument conditions? Me personally, I don't have a whole lot of time in there, so I'm not a huge fan of it, especially flying by myself. It's a little bit easier flying with someone who's got that time to, you know, make sure that, you know, you're doing things appropriately, because unlike VFR flying, instrument condition flying, like you really got to know what you're doing and you got to be on top of it, because it's, you know, you can't see to make corrections, what's going on outside the plane. You just got to know what the plane's doing, and it's a lot to take on, especially if you don't have a whole lot of time in it. So that's going to be a huge pressure on you to make sure you're performing well and also flying safely. The sick child, in my opinion, you're already talking with ATC. It's getting a little turbulent, so you might be able to sit there and ask to get a weather report, to see if maybe there's something a little bit higher you can go, climb a little bit, maybe get out of the clouds, or to maybe find the air that's not so turbulent to make it smoother for the child. Because if, you know, you're already there and it's turbulent, it's probably going to get a little bit more turbulent if you go down lower. So I'd probably climb to see about making smoother air, and if that's not a possibility, then you know, if it gets bad enough, you know, look at the possibility of just landing and taking off at a later date. One thing to keep in mind, we should be able to land here in Pensacola, based off the weather given to us. They have an ILS there, and the minimum score is just 321 feet MSL and a visibility of a half mile. So we meet all that stuff. We'll break out of the clouds, so about 500 feet before we hit our decision height, and we'll have more than enough visibility to make that. Now it goes back to the question of, do you feel comfortable flying in those conditions? Because it sounds like a lot, but in reality, that's not a whole lot of distance with your visibility and stuff like that. So if it's your first time flying in something that low and low visibility, then again, it may be a decision you may not want to make. But it all kind of depends on how you are as a pilot, what your experience is, and what you feel comfortable doing. Safety always comes first. There's plenty of jobs out there, and there's no sense of doing something that you're not ready to do or make a mistake that may cost you or someone else their life. So, but that's my flight scenario project, and hopefully you can take some away from it. Thanks.